Morning. We are going to get started. Welcome to Projects and Procurement Committee meeting dated today, 14th of July. Where's some quiet in the gallery, please? Thank you. Right, first of all, we have no apology. Oh, firstly, welcome Charles, Tamuka and Sarah from Geraldine. Thank you for being here, guys. And we have no apologies today. Any identification of items of urgent business? No matters of minor nature have been brought forward. Any conflicts of interest today? Excellent. Confirmation of minutes held on the 9th of June. I had a brief chat with Jess, just a couple of spelling errors, sorry. And I just have a question around, there is talk of Councillor Pye, but she's not at this meeting, so I presume that's just a slight error. Is there any other issues with the minutes or need to be raised? Okay, I'm happy to move those minutes. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Moving to reports. 6.1, Action Register Update.
Talk to the first one, the divestment options for the museum building, the Criterion and the Chinese Gardens. That will need a reset, and we'll probably bring that probably around, what's July, but around August, I would suggest. There needs a real good think about these particular buildings, but I don't think we've done enough work yet.
Can you explain what that means?
Well, at the moment, the two buildings, one's sitting there half demolished, and the other one's sitting there in a state of dilapidation, and we're going to have to think: do we actually sell them, or do we bowl them, or what do we do with the land? So with that, I don't think we've done enough to actually work that out yet, and we know that no one's come forward with any sort of options for them at all. And also the museum, we need to get that moving in terms of the storage going forward.
Just on that though, weren't the Timaru Civic Trust interested? Are they no longer interested?
Didn't appear to be.
Okay. Simply sell them. I mean, we've got no use for them.
I think that's what that report will
Well, the report's talking about what options have we got. And
Mr. Trainer, I presume you or Mr. Haggarth will be able to talk to this, but time critical. We're devastated if we open our theatre museum facility next year and they look like they currently do.
Yep, correct. I don't think the Chinese Garden is less than. I mean, it's more the Criterion, isn't it?
Thank you. Point two, any further questions? No. Strathallan Corner project update. We are just waiting for the closeout project report. Do we have a time frame for that? There's no update there.
We are thinking about what to do with this. All the people that were involved in this are more or less gone. So effectively, we're thinking hard about how do we do this, given they're all not here anymore.
Noting that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem, but
Well, if you haven't got the people, it's hard to do a closeout report when you can't interview them and ask them what happened and when it happened. So we're thinking that through.
We have a project management office, so I'd be pretty keen to see that they are involved in the process, but more than happy to help in the background on moving that forward so we can close out that project. Councillor Jackson.
I was just going to say, I accept that the people are not here now, but there must be lessons that we can learn from this, irrespective. Anyway, hopefully that's what will come out, but I'm pretty keen to see something on that.
Yep, we discussed that in quite some depth, didn't we, about getting a report on that, so I look forward to seeing that when it comes. Just on the shade sales, I see the infrastructure has been installed for that, but there is no budget for the shade sales, but they're going to be imperative to have those done. It's a concrete jungle down there, and I've had a lot of feedback from people, particularly when it was first completed, about the fact that it was uncomfortable to sit down there without some sort of shade. So we're going to need to find some budget for that somewhere, somehow.
Do we have a nominal cost for potentially for those sales, so that we could, maybe some of us look to the community for some funding or corporate funding?
I feel like there is a figure somewhere, but if I said something out loud, I'd be making it up. But I think we'll put that on there, and we'll do some investigating on that.
Thank you.
Okay, the following two projects have been closed out. And I think we can close out the QS reporting as well. Is everyone comfortable with that? Thank you. And then I noticed that the stadium traffic calming project action, is closed out. But my question is, will that come back to this committee or council?
Yes, so the lighting plan and the unbudgeted expenditure for works on Morgan's Road will come back to council for consideration, and then the tender process would go through projects and procurement.
Just on that, we've talked about this before, but I'm concerned there's black spots in the existing car park, and we're kicking the can down the road and saying we'll fund it or look at it in the next long-term plan. I mean, it's a health and safety risk. It should come ahead of sales on Strathallan Corner. We've got to start getting our priorities right. If you've identified a health and safety problem with black spots and pedestrian walkways, and we're opening a new stadium, surely we should do it now, not sometime in the future.
I can probably talk to that a little bit. So the frontage of, where the new stadium is going and the existing stadium, there is lighting included in that contract. So there is actually some lighting provided at those points. The wider connection piece is actually linking the Morgan's Road through to Mountain View Road, and that's where we're lacking on the lighting in those spaces, and yes, in some of those car parks. So that's the wider plan that we'll need to do some lighting design for and obtain some budget for that work. But that's certainly something we'll continue to work through.
I'm sorry, Susie, but it's not exactly there. It's between the two hockey turfs around there. Our previous CEO bead went up one time when a light went out, and now the light's gone and no one knows where the switch of it is. I mean, there's just some obvious spots that need lighting, and we need to do it now.
So the lighting plan will look at everything, and we can then get some costings. So we are looking at it now. It's just as far as the available budgets, but certainly if we're keen to bring that to council for a decision, more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Susie. I think we'll just add that. I think it will just update that action. Thanks, Jess. It's actually on there. Stadium lighting plan. Oh, there's two different ones? Okay, perfect. Susie's all over it. Thank you. And then there was Mayor Nigel talked about the future update or demo on that Citizen Central software. There was nothing in there, so I presume someone will action that or write an update of where that is at. Oh, yep, Sam's pointing at me. Thank you, Sam. If you could bring that back to the next meeting, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, yes, Councillor.
I'm interested. Last time we asked, there was talk about getting a consultant for storage at the museum. Are we really getting a consultant, and why would we be getting a consultant to work out what storage was needed for the museum and the art gallery?
There was a plan that I had been given, which was 1,500 square metres of storage, I think it was, which I stood back and went, that's a lot of storage. And there are experts that actually can assist to ensure the footprint can be minimised and done well. And that person was engaged, someone from Christchurch. I haven't, since Andrew left, managed to get in touch with that person to find out exactly what have they done and where they are up to.
Mr. Traynor did talk to this just before, saying that a report would be coming, so in August. Yeah.
The question was why we needed a consultant. Surely our staff realise where we're at.
Well, it's about what types of systems you have, modern systems you have now. I mean, if you go around some of our areas, they're not, the spaces are not well used. We want to make sure whatever we do, it is well thought through.
And are we getting a costing on what the storage is going to cost us?
Well, once I get the report, we'll see what we've got. I haven't seen it yet.
Sorry, look, I get the reason for questioning, but just a point of order, we're talking about the actions register update. If we want requests, we go specifically to the officers, or we raise them through the chair as minor nature. Otherwise, we're just going to go in every direction and never going to get to the end.
All good. I think we've concluded the action register, so could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Right, report 6.2, project fundraising groups verbal update, and I'd like to welcome Ethan. Thank you.
Kia ora, thanks for having me back. No blockbuster updates today on the theatre front. I know you won't love to hear that, but we have our reasons for that. I'll get into that a bit more as we go on. I'll start with good news though. Our fundraising team is all put together. Our subcommittee has all the roles filled. I'll not mention all the individual members here, not quite till we get to launch, and also because we're in a public forum, so I figure we can save that for a few, well, like social media posts when we get there. We have also adopted a full fundraising strategy, so that sets out the macro of what we're looking to do, some of all those detailed goals, and how we want to go about fundraising, what we're looking to do, obviously still up to some of the decisions that are made around sponsorship opportunities and how council wants to interact with us as a committee, but allows us to sort of set that out and have a guiding marker. On the agreements front with council, both on any campaigns we might be doing and any sponsorship opportunities we might be looking at, we've been engaging well and we've sort of agreed around the principles of what those are going to be, and we're working on like the things that council has absolutely said, yeah, that would be great to do. So we're working through those, we're just working through the details, and especially on that sponsorship side now that we've got a corporate sponsorship lead on our committee, that really does help in terms of being able to start that engagement and really get into detail there. On sponsorships, we have been starting to reach out in the community, not just to figure out what our founding donors are going to be in terms of actually hot up a little before we go public, but just in terms of general community engagement, we have plenty of members on our subcommittee that are, out in the theatre community regularly, and they're just having side conversations and they're getting decent feedback. We're scoping out opportunities left, right and centre, so I'm fairly optimistic that this isn't going to be the super small time effort, right, that we can actually expand and make something meaningful out of this fundraising effort. But I think when we talk about not having blockbuster news, the main thing is we sort of had to step our launch timeline, and that's mostly an information issue. So there's some key bits of information we really want to get before we have the confidence to go to the public and actually have those conversations, and have the information that we are equipped with to go forward and make a compelling case to the public. So we're working with council to get that. It's a bit of a slow process at times, but we've been working with theatre manager Scott Gaddies, and that's been a really constructive and good process, all in good faith. So we've had some recent commitments about when we can expect that. So we're working towards a new internal launch date, which is a lot more. has a lot more emphasis behind it in terms of actually working towards it and being a bit more firmed up. Obviously, reliant on getting a few bits of information, but personally, I'm feeling good about odds of going then. So, no, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ethan, and great to hear that the committee has sort of come together and your strategy's in place. Big question, I presume, on everyone wants to know is, have you set a target, a fundraising target?
Yes, so I can reveal a target that's in our strategy. I just do want to preface it with the fact that it is proviso to what opportunities we can get in terms of sponsorship and where monies can go and how we can use that to help generate community interest. But our primary goal was set at $1 million in that strategy. And we did have I've been calling it a stretch goal of potentially moving up to that too. That has been floated around in the community over the past couple of years. So, I mean, we are setting our sights at a reasonable target here. And that's what we're absolutely going to be working towards. You know, we're a serious effort. We're not looking at a small but respectable amount. We're looking to actually, play a part in getting this theatre open and making sure it's the best facility it can be.
So, rough timeline on launch, Ethan, without disclosing? Give yourself a buffer within 2 months?
I think 2 months would be a fair statement there. Yeah, 2 months would be a fair statement from what we have planned. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned there about the key bits of information that you're still requiring. Are you able to just give us a general idea of what those key requirements are?
Yeah, so we did, coming out of a few of our meetings, we did sort of gather a list of what we were looking for. The primary one was more detail around the fit out of the theatre and what's going to be in there. And it's not even necessarily from a point of view of, we're all curious to actually know what's going in there. Like, of course we are, but it's more from a perspective of when the community comes and asks us, and you were talking to them and we're going, you should get on board, you should support this. They quite reasonably ask, not just what am I getting, but what's the community getting, right? And these people, some of them are full theatre heads, but not all of them. They have some level of detail, and they want to know that it's going to be done to a good level, and done to a level that they can get on board with. So that's one of our hold-ups, but we've had some communications around getting that.
So then what you're trying to do is, are you trying to identify those things that might facilitate the public being more interested in donating rather than trying to donate into a pool as such? Yeah?
To a certain extent, but I think that's been more of a separate workflow in terms of actually identifying that as specifically for more community-focused fundraising, where we can highlight certain elements and possibly, build on that in whatever way the funding framework comes out around the budget. But this is more in terms of actually having the information equipped, because I think there's a certain distrust about the theatre, and it's been described as fit for purpose, but people want to know that it's actually fit for purpose. So I think we're taking it step by step in terms of that information there, but we're just looking for that confirmation of that it's going to be there, that we can communicate to the community that this is going to be a great theatre, which I know it's going to be, and we can have that confidence when we go out to have those conversations.
Can you give us context for fit for purpose? And can you tell us, I believe there are some people from the Drama League on your fundraising committee. One, can you give us context for fit for purpose? And two, are those members representing the Drama League, or are they representing themselves and just happen to have an interest in that process? Because I have a very, very well thought out, theory around previous iterations of the theatre and museum coalescing and or by itself. There was always put out there that the major stakeholder in this is this very well formed group of the Theatre League or the Drama League, and I clearly believe that somebody should be holding a position on your fundraising committee that is representing the Drama League, not just happen to be there as an interested party.
Yeah, so we do have multiple Drama League members on the committee, but no one is designated as a specific contact. I have been essentially the liaison between there. There was some conversations there. They were put on hold for a time while we could identify what projects they could contribute into and how they could help the effort, right? But we're pretty close to being able to circle back on that conversation. But no official representative on it as per se. But I think it's a representative of the wider community, not just the stakeholders. When we're looking at actually pitching to the wider community, the stakeholder is going to be incredibly important to the process, but I think the wider community is the main focus. So I think that has been the main focus of where the community is represented, is making sure it's broad-based across the community.
Fit for purpose, what's driving that?
Yeah, so fit for purpose, essentially just using the language that's been used at council for some time around how we describe the theatre, and most meetings I've been in around the theatre have used the phrase fit for purpose. And there's been a bit of discussion about, well, fit for what purpose, right? That's more an internal conversation among the theatre community about to what level that's going to be. For fundraising purposes, that's purely, so when we go out to the public, we have confidence, we can say it's fit for purpose, it's going to be, okay for community use, for commercial, whatever people are interested in, right? So we can actually have that conversation.
I think we need to nip that in the bud, because effectively this theatre was designed with a lot of input from not just the users of the theatres, but also technical people from around the town. Now, effectively, yes, we were dealing with an old building that did have some challenges, but we've worked hard to ensure that that building met the needs of not just the community, but also the users of it and the technical people. So we need to nip that in the bud, because as far as I understand, it is going to be fit for purpose. And and we need to actually work out how do we actually ensure that message gets across strongly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring this back to what the purpose of this report is, and that is a fundraising update. I feel that there is a wider conversation to be had here, and I think, and I'm just looking over the back at Rachel, we have similar situations where we have user group meetings if we look at the stadium project versus fundraising. And if there is a gap at the moment between what is the expectation and fundraising, we need to separate those two issues, okay? So I'm gonna reach out to you, Ethan, and have a bit wider conversation around what you've just raised, and along with Rachel, who can support, re-establishing a user group meeting or stakeholders, because I think that there may be a gap there, because I'd be incredibly disappointed if the feeling out there is that this facility is not going to meet the needs of our community, because it 100% is and should.
Yeah, I'm just happy to clarify on something there. That line of thinking more came from conversations we were having where we went out and people were saying, oh, so what's so great about the theatre? And we feel like we can't give them enough detail, right?
Okay.
We can tell them that the theatre is going to be great, but we can't tell them in detail what the theatre is going to be great about.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I've got two incredible people in the room that I'm going to gather up and sit down with you, and we can go through that and help support that conversation.
That'd be great,
Okay.
thanks.
Any further questions for Ethan? Wonderful, thank you very much, Ethan. Now I'd like to welcome Richard Speckman, who's going to talk on behalf of the Stadium Fundraising Committee today. Our three champions, well, Richard is one, he's number 4, but the other 3 are all on school holidays. So he got the call up today. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. His Worship, thank you, councillors. Yeah, sorry you've got me today. The Superstar team are all disposed, but I'm here to give you the update instead. Like Ethan, it's not the blockbuster update either. I'm going to call this the Netflix update. So we're online, the campaign's going, and hopefully this is nice and easy to digest. So the fundraising total at the moment is 1.14 million, so that's on a target of 2.4, so almost halfway there. Of that, 383,000 has come from Trust Aoraki for the major funder so far. It's been busy. The fundraising team are really active. Those three and all the other rest of the committee that are supporting them are doing an excellent job. They're out there all the time hustling. They've got 30 businesses have committed to support the stadium, so that's from being a business partner right through to all the golds that are now gone. There's been 35 families or individuals that have committed to the community wall, so we'll have their name permanently edged on that wall as supporting the stadium. That number's growing constantly. Feedback that I've been getting, I've been involved in a number of the presentations out to service clubs and just general feedback when you're around town. We've been, as the foundation, Aoraki Foundation's been involved in a lot of these projects over the years. I would say without a doubt this is the most positive I've ever seen for a project. I don't hear negative feedback on it. Everyone's excited about it. They're seeing the progress on Morgans Road and they just can't wait for it to be open and to be used. And that extends right out through to the districts as well. I was in Geraldine presenting there and I thought I might have a bit of a hard time trying to convince them to want to support a facility in Timaru, but they can't wait. A lot of those residents come in with their kids or their grandkids for sport here, and they're in the cold out watching netball, or they're there late playing basketball, and I think they're very aware what a difference this will make for them and for their commute and the time that they get back home to their communities. I'm in Waimate on Thursday. I'm looking forward to that presentation. It'll be interesting to see how they see supporting the stadium. I'm presenting to the Rotary group there, but I suspect the same thing. There's a lot of kids that come up from sport for Waimate and use this facility. I think also with amalgamation talks and what that's going to look like around this facility will be not just probably for the Timaru district, this really will be a South Canterbury and wider facility. So a little nice story as well. We had Barton Rural School did a fundraising campaign themselves, all led by the students. They raised $1,700. Bring in their gold coins. So amazing job for that. Some great stuff on social media about it. And then we had one parent actually donated $1,000 after that. I rang him up to see why they donated, and he said, my kids came home from this fundraising thing and said, Dad, we need to be on this community wall. So I think that's the sort of positive stuff that's happening with this project. So that's probably about for me. If there's any questions, happy to try fielding them as best as I can.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the really dedicated fundraising team that's underway. And I know there's some really cool events due to happen in the spring and in the summer. So yeah, look forward to the continued efforts of this group. So thank you, Richard, for coming today. Thank you. I don't think there's any questions by the looks of it. Well done. Now I can see Philip in the background. I haven't connected, but do you have a museum? Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Welcome, Philip.
Kia ora, thank you. Representing the South Canterbury Museum Development Trust, like our other two collegial organisations, it's been not a quiet month, but a month of tiny triumphs. We've had a grant from a perpetual trust fund that covers South Canterbury. In keeping with our strategy, we are continuing to target specific funds both nationally and regionally that can be applied to this project. We are also identifying specific components of the project we're working on, which is the exhibition fit out and for the new museum, which can be linked convincingly to local organisations and businesses who may have an interest in the subject matter. And then we also continue with what I'd call the wide-ranging just public appeal through activities, sales and donations. I should point out at this stage that individual members of the South Canterbury Historical Society, or Friends of the Museum, have actually given close to $200,000 to date, with a couple of really significant donations within that fund. Like our other organisation or collegial groups here, we have got specific people who have an interest in the subject matter, whether it's stadiums, theatres, or in this case a museum, and the benefits that it brings. So it's interesting, and I'm now putting my museum director's hat on as we work with our project management team on finalising specific costs for elements within the museum fit-out. We can see a clearer path to specific funding opportunities that we can get to help meet that $2 million target that we have. And any questions at this stage?
Well done, and again, thank you to your team in the background that are working hard on that, raising funds for our community. So thank you very much, and yeah, great effort with the Friends of the, I call them Friends of the Museum. I know you had a different name, but amazing efforts there, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So our job now is to receive and note the verbal updates provided. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Burt, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in, Thomas, not Thompson, sorry, Thomas. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Now I'd like to welcome Paul for our Theatre and Museum Project Update report.
Kia ora, nice to be back again, in person this time. The theatre report first, if I just flick to the project director's report, starting on page 30. I'm not seeking any approvals, this is just purely an update, a progress update. Health and safety, we had no health and safety incidents, which is really good. A very good health and safety culture continuing throughout the site, and it's an extremely busy site now, so lots and lots going on. In terms of the works on site, civil works contract is complete and has been for a while. Main contract, as you probably saw as you walking into the building, lots of things ongoing. The museum, the concrete structure is now up and complete. The structural steel is also being erected now, and we poured the first floor slabs for the upper floor exhibition hall last week, and that will be ongoing. Theatre stage house, the underpinning is now complete. I'm delighted to tell everybody. So a few curly issues we found, but nothing that we couldn't deal with. So that was a major milestone, is completing the underpinning last week. The first slab of the new stage is now down as well. And the structural steel which will go into that stage house is under fabrication. Theatre back of house, precast walls are being erected. Front of house, we've started the foundation construction, and within the theatre itself, we've now got the new floor completely constructed and the ply down, and we're starting to run the new services, the heating and ventilation services beneath that new floor. Stafford Street facade is now painted, and that scrim should be coming down in 2 or 3 weeks' time once we've finished all of the other refurb works around the glazing and the other facade elements. Theatre specialist equipment, the audio-visual installation has also commenced, so they are working in parallel with our main contractor, so they're working beneath the floors, getting the AV cables in alongside our back. The fly rig is still under fabrication in Ferrymead and is ongoing, and the orders are placed with John Herber for these new stage curtains. Not time critical yet, but all those orders are now placed. And I have my chandelier refurbishment contractor coming to site tomorrow to commence the refurb of the chandeliers, which sounds a bit early, but we need to get those done and lifted into place before the seat's going. So that's all been coordinated with the main works as well. Utilities, you'll see that Alpine have commenced their works down at Barnard Street corner, and they'll be working up to put the new power cables in and the new transformers. So they're also working in with our traffic management to make sure that we are accommodating each other. Procurement, Appendix 3 of this report gives an update on the local and farther ranging companies who have been engaged to date. Museum exhibition fit out, so we've got those packages coming back in now. So we've got the cabinetry, the glass, the perspex, AV hardware, AV content. They're all in and being evaluated and corralled. We do have preferred, not quite in a position to confirm who they are at this meeting, but we're just going through the final throes of those engagements. And then the specialist joinery, the electrical works, also came back in at the end of last week, so we'll be going through an evaluation process for those. All looking looking good. We've got a range, as you'd expect with these things. Some people tell us what we asked for, and some people tell us what they think we should have, and we've got to get the right balance. But working with the theatre team very closely to pull all that into shape now, which is really good. Scott, the new theatre manager, continues to liaise very closely with the design team, has now integrated into the design team. Design status, I can absolutely assure you it's fit for purpose. Ethan, more than happy to talk through the equipment that's being provided, and it accommodates everything from school groups and communities and one guy with a microphone to local productions to attracting touring shows and all the state-of-the-art AV equipment that they would expect to see and which is going to attract them back into Timaru. So more than happy to talk through all the specs and explain everything that's going in there. Laneway, no issues yet, but that will follow the construction of the theatre and museum. Consents and compliance, we touched very briefly on the adjacent buildings, the Chinese Gardens restaurant building and the Criterion. Just to answer your earlier question, Madam Chair, in terms of time criticality, it's outside the boundary of our site, so it doesn't affect the works that we're doing, but none of us want to open the theatre with the buildings looking as they are. There's a backup plan to hold them off, and that's just putting the blinkers on for a while, kicking the can down the road, but something at longer term, I guess something needs to happen. But it's not affecting the works that we're doing directly. Programme and progress, we are probably overall running about a week and a half behind schedule. The bit of heavy weather over the last few weeks has not helped, mainly the wind. We can't swing around large pieces of concrete and steel when it's too windy, and we got a particularly wet period last week, which just, we weren't exactly treading water. Well, literally, we nearly were. But it did slow us down a little bit last week. But it's nothing which is going to cause us any long-term critical delays. So we're still pretty well on schedule. The inside of the theatre, the stagehouse, the auditorium is actually ahead of programme, which balances the slight losses we had in the external works. And Alpine, as I mentioned, have started theirs and are moving to their programme. No changes in terms of budget. The figures, as we reported last time, are still the same forecast cost. Still no need to come cap in hand for any contingency, so we're all still tracking within the allowances. Expenditure to date, bear in mind these figures were to the end of May, because the report had to be in before the end of June. To the end of May was 11.8, and there's about another 3 million on top of that, so about 14.7 expended to date overall. Continue to have our monthly meetings and check-ins with MB, who are delighted with the progress. Took them on a virtual tiki tour on my telephone this week instead of an online, and they were actually quite astounded, and the difference in the site from the last time that they were there. Variations, I've got a summary there of the big lumpy numbers, as I call them, still within our allowances. Yes, we've incurred a few additional costs with underpinning and finding a few unforeseen lumps of concrete and other bits of structure as we strip things back, but that's to be expected, and we do have allowances for that. So again, no great issues there. Key risks. Risks, unknown conditions will continue until we've stripped out the last bits of walls and ceilings and everything else, but is diminishing rapidly. Structural steel erection
is a risk just because of weather and their big heavy lumps of materials. Underpinning risks are now concluded because we've completed that, and the timing of the power supply we're working through with Alpine. We have a backup plan to commission on temporary power if there's a bit of an overlap or underlap with the permanent power dates going on. I'll leave on the end of the risk register there, disruption in the Middle East. Who knows what is happening there? It's not affected us to date. Fuel prices go up and down a bit. Within the contracts, it's a contractor's risk. If there is any change to legislation at any point, or if suddenly if fuel is suddenly rationed, then that kicks in a different conversation. But it's not occurring yet. But sits on the risk register as something that may happen. The QS's report summary is included there, which gives a bit more detail to the summary figures in my early report. And then we have a series of progress photographs, which give a visual of where we've got to. But yeah, progress going well.
Thank you. Now, before I open up the floor to questioning, I ask that we keep these succinct and in line with the reports so we can keep moving forward. I will start, just have two questions. One for you, Paul, is just around, well, it's actually probably for Andrew and Susie, but Susie, sorry, you're the only one here. Just to make sure that your team is all lined up for the work surrounding this project. Would hate to see our own teams letting us down. Are you on track?
I can certainly speak for transport, and yes, we are on track. We will only take a very short period of time to do footpaths and the surfacing when it's finished. We just need everyone else pavements, finish digging the pavement. So I'd have to defer to anyone from drainage and water. Yeah,
well,
but
we're
working on it.
We do have a monthly coordination meeting between all the parties now. So yeah, we are making sure that everything's coordinated in and around the.
That's reassuring. And my final question is for Mr. Traynor, just around operational plans. When will they come to this committee or full council or at all?
Scott's still working through that, and I'm setting up a meeting in the next week or two. We'll look at what that looks like. Probably may end up coming to council. We'll see how we go.
Open up for questioning. Councillor Piddington.
Sorry, just Paul, on the construction contingency of 184,000, that's the final cost. Is that the cost to date, or is that the estimate of the final cost? Because we're only 19% through the project.
Sorry, where are we looking? QS's report?
Page 40, is it? Oh, sorry, page 41. If you've
1.7, I think, are you referring to? Construction.
2.1 construction cost budget, costs to complete.
Oh, sorry, yeah, so construction contingency, that's the allowances we've still got within the overall construction sum. So your 2.7 contingency, project contingency, which is under section 4, is still intact. So the construction contingency is terminology, that's the allowances that we've made for, knowing that we'll find some foundation issues and we'll find concrete issues, we'll find asbestos in the wall, wherever it's going to be. Okay. So that's, that 184 is our construction allowance, which is still intact and looking sufficient.
And I was just interested on the back of house panels. There seems to be rebates on the wrong side of panels and clips on. Has that all been resolved?
There's always a few teething problems that need to be sorted out.
Because I would have thought, yeah, my Lego won't work if I do that, you know.
Yeah, there's a few quality issues that need to be resolved. A couple of things have arrived, and yeah. It happens on projects. It's for the contractor to resolve and to fix.
I only asked because it was highlighted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? Excellent. Well done. Okay, thank you, Paul. So our job now, again, is to receive note, the Theatre Royal Museum project update. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Mayor Nigel, seconded by Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We'll now move to report 6.4, Airingi Stadium project update.
Okay, thank you. So similarly, not asking for any approvals at this meeting. It's an update report. Health and safety going very well. We did have one minor incident where an operative managed to hit himself with a hammer. It was a first aid injury and back to work. Yeah, other than that, considering there's a lot of work going on at height, there's been no incidents, and the health and safety culture is really good. Contracts and procurement, nothing else to procure under the main contract. In terms of the retractable seats, we now have a supplier, a design, and at the next meeting here, I'll be able to bring some details, but discuss that with Mike Wrigley. It is a far superior set of seating to what is currently there. 10 interchangeable units, which can be handled by 2 people and set up to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 units, giving a total of 510 seats. And that can be used in the existing stadium and wheel through to the new. Consents and compliance, no issues. Design issues, again, nothing in the main stadium. We mentioned earlier the car parking reconfiguration, so are just waiting for the final design and drawings from Simon Davenport and his team, and we will get a cost from Thomson for anything which is extra over what they are currently incorporating within their external works. It won't be a lot. And just talking to LTU about the potential funding for that extra over. In terms of external lighting, just to reinforce that we are putting external lighting right around the building, which will illuminate the car park between the entrance and the hockey turfs and the whole perimeter where we have new footpaths. We're also replacing that single light which is on the southeast corner, which has been missing for a while. We're just going to connect that in because it's easy. But then the lighting in the further car parks is a separate exercise to be done by LTU and by Parks. South Canterbury Basketball still haven't resolved fully the Glory League camera request, just because it's technically not quite as easy as we thought it might be. The cable length, means that we need to put some boosters in, and we need to just give some smart solutions. But we should have an answer to that. We should have a cost for that in the next few days. The cost I'm expecting will be just picked up by the Glory League. We had a user group meeting on the 17th of June, which generated a couple of change requests which have been considered. One was for the potential to future-proof for more volleyball courts. And what we have done is put additional thickened concrete where posts might be in the future, because a socket is about 450 mil deep and the slab is only about 200 mil, so we need to thicken the concrete beneath there. So it's future-proofed, so that in the future, if future volleyball courts are needed, the facilities are there. A similar request was raised by netball for junior netball markings and posts, which unfortunately is not quite as straightforward because those posts are on the centre line. They fall on top of an existing foundation beam, and they've already been cast and the steel is in there, which can't accommodate it. To put those posts in would be going through existing steel. So what we have said is that we will look at what options there are for portable junior or adjustable posts. It's unfortunate that that request was a little too late. We couldn't accommodate that one. The user group also requested bespoke scorer benches, similar to what we have in the existing stadium. The current allowance is for tables and single chairs. I think basketball are separately seeking sponsorship or a local company to provide those bespoke units. Procurement construction, we are about 1 week behind. Again, we had the same weather at the stadium that we had at the theatre, so it was pretty windy, pretty wet, and that did slow down things because, again, we're working at height and swinging around big pieces of concrete. So currently about 1.5 weeks behind, but nothing that's not recoverable. Budget and finance remains pretty stable from where it was last time. In fact, I think our contingency's gone up by about 5,000, which is good. We'll be back in the pot. So we sit at $800,000 contingent unspent and untouched. Expended to date 13.1 million to the end of May. Apologies, the note at the top says end of April, that's to the end of May. With the June figures, you can add about 2.4 million onto that, so we've got 15.5 expended to date. No additional variations from the last time we spoke, so obviously the biggest costs were the defective welding that we had to fix right at the start of the project. Nothing else has transpired since then. The change request we've talked about, which is the additional volleyball marking and the additional netball facilities. Key risks: adverse weather, construction risks from swinging bits of steel around, and the same long-term emerging risks of Middle East interference, which are not affecting us at this time. QS's report just confirms the same, so a bit more detail there in the numbers. And again, got some good construction photographs, some progress photos to show how things are progressing.
Open the floor for questions. 0. Excellent. Oh no, Councillor Jackson, no, it's okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the defective welding that was discovered within the existing stadium, like, we don't have any recourse on that, do we? We can't go back to those people who did that job? No.
Unfortunately.
How many?
No.
Okay, yeah, cool.
We did
Answered, thank you.
We did examine that. No, that ship has long since sailed, unfortunately.
Are we using them again? No, good.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, and thank you to your team for all your efforts from both of these projects. They are going incredibly well, and yeah, great engagement from the community across both projects. And so thank you for your hard work. I know it's a big job, so thank you.
Thank you.
So happy to receive a note. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. We'll move that, and seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. I now welcome Sam to provide us an update on altitude. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The project is progressing as planned and key activities remain on track. Progress to date includes integration activities currently underway for Element Time, Altitude and Citizen Central. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Happy to start. Sam, I reviewed, I note that it says here that planned activities for this period, but when I looked back at the previous month, we haven't said about the commence any proprietary configuration or system setup activities or identify and mitigate any risks that may impact delivery time. There was, from the last meeting, that haven't been brought forward. So they, in my quick view, have not been achieved, but are being brought forward. And the ultimate time discovery, payroll workshops, etc. So how are we picking up from when you tell us the activities for the month going forward? To me, they weren't all achieved, to keep them at front of mind. How is that sort of progressing?
So I do look at the previous reports. I would compare this report to next month's report, and then, for example, those workshops would have happened, so then they should fall under achievements for this period. So I should list them accordingly.
Just note, I don't know if these are time critical, but for example, in your milestone progress, you have at 3.2, 50% achieved, and the baseline finish date is the 30th of June. So that is passed. And also, like discovery phase, 0%, and that's due 25th of July. Empowerment phase, 25th of August. So how are they being tracked?
Sure. So it's just due to the timing of the report. So at the time when I'm doing this, I'll take everything up until June, and then I will, update it for example, July's report and so forth, and keep tracking it like that. Yeah, even more closer. There we go. How's that? Great. Yes.
Because I presume this is okay to ask, but do you think that the project is progressing well? I feel like when I read this report, I can't get a gauge whether or not it's progressing at the rate it needs to, or the deliverables required are being achieved. Like, as the project lead for this, are you satisfied with the progress being made to date?
Yes.
Because there's little spent, like none, in the last month.
Yes, that is correct, because the actual build work only really commences the first week in August. Yeah, so then you'll see the next couple of reports coming through where there'll be a lot more progress, and it will go quickly. Yeah. Thanks.
No, I'm the only one that read the report. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Any other further questions from the floor?
We're scared to ask questions.
Oh, okay, good. Then Jess will not be nudging me to move this forward. Right, thank you. Since there's no more questions, thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate your report. I'm happy to receive a note from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Okay, now I welcome Rose. Jeepers, sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm like my brain's not quite working today. Welcome. So today we've got 6.6, Infrastructure Capital Program Delivery Update. I'll just hand over to you.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Madam Chair, and for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Rosie. This is Prince, and we've arrived with some questions just in case you don't have any ready to go. So I'll take the report as read. And just again, I want to thank and acknowledge this is Prince's work. He does, has all those one-on-one conversations with project managers and runs the Power BI and chases the details. And our group managers have also been really helpful with following up with their team leads. So a lot of people need to take credit for this, none of whom is me. What's different between this report and the one that you received in March? The financial information, the end-of-year finances, obviously they're just not available yet. And again, there's the contracts reporting, which will come with the altitude project from our procurement lead. So we haven't provided those this time. The other thing that's different is that we discovered an issue that we didn't actually pick up last time with the data in the JIRA system, which is to say that it included both real and imagined projects. So we say 237 projects, but then when we talk about inactive projects, we know that that data is being skewed, and actually we think our delivery is a lot stronger than what these numbers would indicate. So please take that with a grain of salt. And the other new section which was requested and we think is valuable, we've provided the explanation for the projects that are inactive, although again, we don't know if they ever were active. That's a bit tricky to get to. So we'll continue to provide that information with more data confidence moving forward. And then you've got the new section number 5 about projects that are rolling over into the new financial year. And we haven't, don't want to bombard you with loads of operational detail, but we've indicated whether they are doing that with a carry forward funding or whether they have a budget allocation from the new financial year. Just one thing I did want to pick up there in section 5, some of those projects show as having an inactive status, being deferred or on hold, even though they're rolling over. That's because you're looking at the data for the current financial year. So in the next report we bring you, those projects, you'll have more information about whether they're in planning or in construction or where they're at. The other things that I draw your attention to in the report is where it talks about what's coming in the next report. Obviously, the main one is going to be accuracy in terms of the number and status of projects. So Prince has done some really rigorous work with group managers and project managers looking at what's in the annual plan and then interrogating that, especially where you've got a program level budget, to tease out specifically what people expect to deliver. And so we've got Prince, who's got 2 spreadsheets, one of which is the forward work program, which is everything we imagine, and the other of which is the projects register, which things that have funding and are progressing, and we'll be reporting from that one. The other one's there if you want some bedtime reading. We haven't been able to resolve the one-to-one coding issue, but we hope to once altitude rollout completes. And I've made some comments in there about limitations around future reporting and how quickly we embed new processes. I've got some specific questions for you around your priorities that would be helpful to have feedback on, but it's your turn first, so over to you.
Thanks, Rosie. Hey, I was concerned lesson learned, projects do not consistently monitor and analyse lessons learned. Although there's some pockets of excellence, and it goes on to say it may or may not be done next financial year. Why would we not? And if there are pockets of excellence, and I'm frightened to ask where they are, is that not a general thing we should be aiming for? Because if we're not learning lessons, the same mistakes get made.
Yeah, we are. It is something we're aiming for, unquestionably, and that's where my big question comes around. You know, at one end of the spectrum, we could stop all delivery of project work until everyone gets on board and up to scratch with best practice and is doing it the right way, documenting, reporting, you know, everything. At the other end, we can allow delivery to proceed because that's an important consideration. So with lessons learned. And shout out, since you're asking, there's some, I mean, I'm sure it's all over the business, but I've seen some great stuff in LTU, I've seen some great stuff in IS as well, among others. It's not a case necessarily that it's not being captured, it's that it's not being recorded in a format that we can readily access. So when Prince does the register going forward, we'll have a column for projects, and we will start to ask for that information. But what we're really saying is that we will not have embedded in every part of the council the documents, the templates and the processes that project managers would necessarily be capturing that for themselves. In every case, it might be that they are thinking about it and providing it to us when we ask. So we will start to collate it, but it is going to take longer for every project to be completing a closeout report, you know, like an actual full report document.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's a comment on page 97, which is around, inflated data. But my question to you is, of those deferred projects or the non-active in here, are they still a priority? So at what point do you relook at those and go, you know, like to me, that should have happened in February or March, and you get these projects out that haven't progressed and you go, are they still a priority? Are they going to move forward? So what is the process there to identify whether or not they're still a priority or not?
I'll give you the short answer and Prince can add some more detail. But anything that's left behind that hasn't cleanly carried forward, that's what we're using the forward work program for, is for all those hypothetical projects. And so, Prince, do you want to speak to the specific list and where they've gone? Yeah.
So with the priorities, we do have... Yep, can you hear me? Yep, easy. So with all these deferred ones and the projects which were not a priority before, which could be a priority, so we have got this forward work program which has been recently introduced. I have scheduled meetings and workshops with different teams and with different GMs where there will be a monthly meeting where they could review all these existing projects and they could prioritize accordingly. And which stays in the forward work program, they can have a look. If something that needs to come into the project or that needs to be done, they could just pull it from there and that can be prioritized accordingly. So there is a set workshop happening every month, and we'll be prioritizing accordingly with the team in that whole session. Yep.
I think the tricky part here is it takes itself right back to the LTPs and the annual plans. And I still try and get the view through that we're not planning our capital well enough in terms of its different stages, and the whole lot goes into 1 year. So if we're doing a project, I don't know, $100,000, you'll see it staged over time. It might happen in 1 year, but it potentially probably will happen over 2 financial years. We still haven't got that sorted in terms of what are the stages of the project, and also when there are projects that are actually being are inactive, they should be removed, and they should be re-put up and reprioritised as to whether you need to do that or not. And one of the things that I'm sort of gobsmacked at is that we have projects that actually, what did you call them? They're in the ether. They're in people's minds. They're actually not projects. What do we call them? Imaginary. Yeah, imagine projects. Well, actually, it's imagine. Take it away. Go and imagine it in someone else's galaxy.
I think, sorry, just to be fair to our group managers, I think that was just to do with the process and the questions that were asked at the time that the data went into the system.
But you know, this current annual plan, 118 million of capital. We're not going to do that. We know that. And that sort of gets back down to the work that these guys are doing to actually try and get that a lot better in terms of the phasing and what we're really doing. And it makes everything that much more difficult, because I constantly get from the councillors, why isn't this done? Why isn't this done? Well, actually, it ain't going to get done. So we've got to get better at that.
Agree more, and I personally do struggle with this too. When and my next follow-on question to you, Prince, was when a project is set up or established, does it have an end date, and a realistic end date, because that's what will cross over into the new separate financial year. So you have some projects that are easy and they'll be within the year, but I know in my own work world, some will cross over 18 months, 2 years, and that has to be phased correctly. And I feel that doesn't happen here. And so that needs to change. So how are you going to facilitate that?
Yep. So we would be having a lot of projects with end dates, which would be going multi-years. So it's again how we would be staging it in each financial year. So in this financial year, we would be delivering this number of scope. This would be a pure workshop done and purely based on what PMs and the leads are focusing on that project. And next year, and also based on the annual plan, the budget allocated for that particular project. So that's how everything would be done, and that's how we'll be reporting as well.
That is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
so well done.
Just going to add to that, and it is something that Prince and I have been discussing. There are some projects where the approved budget is sufficient for the completion of the entire project, in which case we'll be looking for the end date that reflects full completion. And there are some projects for which budget may have been improved, for example, for planning or feasibility, with a view to then making a decision at that point whether further funding is provided for the project to progress to the next stage. So we will make it clear in our reports where we are reporting on partial completion or a step towards, as opposed to one of several confirmed stages. But there will be both.
And how do you see one of the changes we're trying to implement too is business cases? So it's all good and well putting up capital projects or renewals or remediation projects. So yes, it gets approved in an annual plan or LTP. How are we putting practice into place around, yes, okay, the thought is you've got $1 million to do that project. What is the next step of developing that business case to, fully scope, look at contingencies, look at timeframes? Like, are we trying to implement that now too?
Yes, we are. So we've just completed a 3-month pilot process. So we've got the templates, we've got the processes, we've got the internal project control group, set up, who've been reviewing some briefs and some projects that have come through. In terms of rollout to the wider business, this is where my question for you is, what's the priority? Is it pace around delivery, or is it best practice in interrogating our projects to make sure that we've got the best value for money option for each project? Now, the balance which we are proposing as we put together this project register for 26-27, which has the annual plan and the carry forwards as its starting point, We're proposing to review that register with the group managers and with our CE to identify any projects where we feel further optioneering or scoping is absolutely critical. And so we'll have a short list of projects that we have an agreement that those projects have to progress through the processes we've set up, whether that's a business case or a brief, and that internal review process. With the other projects, just because of our capacity, but also to support delivery and not stifle everyone, not to create a bottleneck, with the other projects, it will be desirable but not necessarily mandatory that they immediately go through the full rigour of the process, because we just don't have, either ourselves as a PMO within the groups, there isn't the resource to get everyone on board overnight without really slowing delivery. So it's a case of go through what's in the current year's work programme, identify and pull out the ones that seem to have a risk or a complexity aspect, and review that, and we can bring that to you if you would like.
My instant reaction is we need all of that, but when you do your planning though for in my work environment, when we get told, so we've just clicked over as well into a new financial year, and we, as well as getting approved projects, I also get a list of what will require a business case, and it could be whether it's value or whatever. So that is another mechanism you could use, is when everyone comes to the new year, what the expectations are on a business case. So it's not ad hoc, that everyone is aware, and so, and they can manage their own caseload. No one's expecting you to write the business cases. The department should be. And so identifying what will require a business case and what will not will really help drive that program for the next 12 months.
So we do have a matrix that does that.
Right.
That's one of the artefacts we've set up, that projects are classified either, well, you can call them not too complex, quite complex, or very complex, or simple, complicated, complex, because it's on different dimensions. So it's the cost of the project, it's whether it's unusual for us or whether it's really in our wheelhouse, it's the public interest in the project, it's availability of contractors. There's many factors that go into that. So we can use that scoring matrix to do that. But I think, as ever, it will be helpful to have multiple people in the room so that it's as objective as possible. And I think that's something that we'll bring back with our next report to this committee, first report on that program, to identify, we'll have a new section essentially of projects which we are tracking more closely. I completely agree. Ideally, it would be all of them, but how much do we want to stand still? Yeah.
In my last few years as a CFO, I used to go through a process. If a capital item wasn't started in that financial year, then it was gone. And you had to reprioritise it and actually resubmit to put it back in the plan. We don't do that here. We have people coming along and saying, "Oh, it was done and it was in the capital plan in 2022." And I'm going, well, that's dead and gone. So we need to work that up as well as to...
A challenge to you, Mr. Trainer, our new philosophy at Health New Zealand: if it's not up and in the system in the first quarter, it's gone. So we have 4 quarters. 1 quarter, you've got your set of projects. If they're not up, scoped, business case done, you're out. Wouldn't that be fun? That's terrible. But anyway, Stu, moving on.
Sorry, Rosie, I'm interested in the inactive projects as well. You've got a number there, so you must know what they were. I'd like to see a list of what they were, because obviously someone's come and asked us for money, budgeted for that project, and then is not doing it. Or maybe not, but 37 are inactive because of financial constraint. What does that mean? What are the projects?
So with the inactive projects, again, it comes all to the data in here. The data what we had in the previous financial year, it wasn't that clean. It says financial constraint in there, but it could be a combination of financial constraint where there was no budget allocated because it was just an idea, or because it was something else. So it's all a bad data combination of bad data and some of the projects which were just planned to do it but was never approved. So there are many factors to it. So this is where we have cleaned up many things in the current one, where we would be tracking all the idea ones and everything separately and just focusing on the approved ones or the funded ones, and would be reporting based on it.
Yeah, I think I feel that it's unsatisfactory, and we agree with you that that's unsatisfactory, but I also think it's an anomaly. I don't think we'll be presenting you this kind of data again.
If someone had put a capital item in a capital list and it got all the way through to the annual plan or the LTP, then the budget's there. If they've gone through, so I'm intrigued. So does it mean that they were way over budget?
No. So when projects were entered into the GIRA system, it wasn't limited to what was approved in the annual plan. Group managers and project managers were encouraged to speculate about what they might do. So where, for example, they had a program budget, they might have come up with 12 possible projects, but there were, that could come out of that bucket. And then when they went through the prioritisation process, I wonder, Susie, did you want to add anything to this?
We don't have... We don't have buckets. We have program level budgets. Basically what Rosie's saying is right. The system that we used to use, which was called the GIRA system, it was, just put everything that you think might be delivered under this approved NZTA funding, for us, was prime example. And then, of course, the NZTA didn't fund all of the improvement projects that had been put forward, so there was just a whole heap of, I wouldn't say superfluous, because they are projects that our community has requested over the years, but there's just no funding from NZTA for them, so that's why they're sitting there as inactive. So, we probably were a bit keen and chucked everything in, because that's what we were told to do under the former system, and now there's a lot of data clean up, so now we're taking a more considered approach to what goes into the various spreadsheets, which is why we have the Forward Works dump it in here. You've got the idea, it's great. There's probably going to be a business case needed at some point and we'll be able to get some funding for it. So it's that ability for the staff to go, hey, this is actually really important for the community because I've had 10 complaints or whatever it might be. It's a holding place. And then when we're actually going into, what's the other one, spreadsheet called?
The projects register.
The projects register, those are the ones that are sitting in your annual plan. Yeah.
That's good information, though. That's really good information that you got there. We just need to work out how you report it.
Councillor Burt.
That previous system called GIRO is very effective. It was all over the place. So what system are you using? What's the foundation system for you? Because, building your dashboards and everything, Power BI.
Yep, at the moment we're working with Excel and Power BI. We would like to have, there's a variety of amazing project management softwares on the market, and we are so keen, Councillor Burt, so keen, because there's so much manual effort, not just for us, but for all our colleagues in doing it all on Excel. But we are waiting for the altitude rollout, because what we really need is that single source of truth, and that whatever system we implement is drawing, for example, all the financial and contractual information from altitude. So it would be premature to go now. So we're in a really somewhat uncomfortable, but it's really encouraging seeing the support of our colleagues across the business. We're in a phase where we're trying to embed best practice without the desirable tools.
So to be fair, GIRA is not a project management system.
No.
It was a system that was, for want of a better word, bastardised to actually do the trick. If you really want to do project management, and this business is full of projects, you really need it.
So what level of Power BI are you using? I mean, because if you're only using a sub-level one, you're not going to be able to interrogate it at all to the level you require.
At the moment, we are just using Power BI just to represent our data, and later going forward, again, our plan is to just see where the future software would look like, where we would be storing everything, and then we might use Power BI, or that software might have its own existing functionalities. We are not sure But right now it's purely Excel and Power BI. Yeah, it's hard, but there is at least some process. I think initially we lacked with processes and where everybody could use any tool. I shouldn't say any tool however they want to, but right now we do have a process and a framework in place, and there is governance as well. So this way we try to keep noise out of it mostly, yes.
The issue, there are also obviously some parts of the business that so you might have an individual project manager, for example, who's using Microsoft Project. But we don't want to drive change followed by a further wave of change. And the reason we're using Excel is feedback that we had from project and group managers that Excel was actually the easiest format in which to interact, because we can set up a short number of column headings and they can drop their data in, or we can do that. So it is the most user-friendly for now.
Okay, thank you, Rosie and Prince, for this report. I was a little bit, was I disappointed? I suppose after 9 months of this committee being established, and a paragraph that sort of said, that the original intention was, to get all this data done, but the priorities of the water organisation has taken you away from this work. I acknowledge and accept that, but I do, I challenge you both to challenge Mr. Traynor to make sure that this work continues to progress, because it's really important to this committee and to this organisation. So thank you for your work to date so far. Yep.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I did just have one question. So I had, at section 8 of the attachment, flagged the fact that we had an expectation from Audit and Risk Committee that the PMO would report on benefits realisation. I've commented on this also in the relevant portion of the reporting to Audit and Risk Committee. But what we're basically saying is that we think we can be more effective if we focus for now on defining and reporting project success criteria and leave benefits realisation reporting where it sits at present with corporate when they look at level of service in those quarterly reports. We don't have, I don't want to repeat what I've said in here, but essentially when projects close there can be quite a time lag, and sometimes there's a circumstantial gap between the project being delivered and the circumstances that might arise to unlock the value you were hoping for. And so I think it would be a huge amount of administration, and I don't think you'd get very good quality data from it. So it's not that we do think it's really important to report on the success of a project, but what we want to do is on a per project basis define what that looks like at the start based on what we know we'll be able to measure and attribute project. So this is contrary to one of those internal audit recommendations, and I just want to check the comfort level of this committee with what we're proposing.
You really would need to go back to Risk and Audit and ask them, because we can't make a decision for Risk and Audit.
I agree with that, but I think that hard work at the start of benefits is important in your business case, because that's what you're measuring it against. So your business case is the key to the start of this being able to measure.
Yep, that's noted. I think agreed. I think I've given the example of here, for example, where you're building a bridge because you want alternative routes and resilience in the event of an emergency. The benefit that you're going to have in your business case is going to be continued economic and social resilience in the event of AF8 or whatever it is. So you won't be able to measure that at the close of the project, and what we're saying is we want to identify things that project managers can report back at the close of the project, and then that wider benefits that are in the business cases should be coming from the activity and asset management plans. That should all be lined up. And then with that, they should be lined up with those level of service measures or wider measures that this council collects. So yes to measuring those benefits, but probably more at that wider organisational level than in terms of attribution at the close of a project. Noted in terms of going back to audit and risk, I'll check that as well.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, we will receive and note the Infrastructure Capital Program Delivery Update. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. And Prince. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Mayor Nigel, seconded by Councillor Thomas. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Okay, now I welcome Grant, Claremont Water Treatment Plant Upgrade, Report 6.7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those that don't know me, I'm Grant Hall, the Water Services Principal. We also have online Drew Williamson, who is the Project Manager. I'm the Project Lead. I'll take the report as read. This is the first monthly report for the Claremont Water Treatment Plant Upgrade. So pleased to be here at last. Attached to the report is the report from Alta, from Drew, and also we have the monthly report from the Masons, who are the contractor for the treatment plant process upgrade. There are a number of parts to this. There's the treatment plant, there's the pipelines, there's the reservoir, and there's the enabling works. So we have the one contract with Masons for the process upgrade. As I say, this is the first. The progress at the moment has been largely in terms of the project establishment, the design clarifications, and some minor enabling works. There's some physical works due to happen in August. Happy to take any questions, and as I said, Drew is online as well.
Okay, I'll open it up to the floor. Councillor Piddington.
Thanks, Grant. Just on the process, on the reservoir, there's a problem with an existing earth embankment, and you're saying that one of the reservoirs might need to be moved. How easy is that, and will it fit on the site?
So the embankment is the embankment on the existing storage reservoirs, yes. So we actually, since writing the report, have got our geotechnical report back. And so what that has done is looked at the base level, and so we've got that now at a level that shouldn't impact on that embankment. That report is with our dam safety specialists, which is Stantec and Dunedin, and so they will report back on the dam safety aspect of building the reservoir there. It's looking very promising because the settlement was less than 1 millimetre. It was so that should be able to proceed.
Just giving context, people may think, why dam? Why a dam specialist would be involved, and that all came out through new legislation that came out a number of years ago that relates to any body of water over a certain depth, quantity and area and what have you. So it requires a very, very in-depth look of structural integrity and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely correct. Because we don't have a lot of detailed information of the actual structure in terms of the embankment, what we have to do is show that what we are doing with building the new reservoir in the vicinity is not impact on the existing, because otherwise we'd have to go through a really rigorous process to determine the factors of safety. And we don't really want to do that. So instead what we're doing is showing that the structure that the new structure that we're building will not impinge on the existing embankment.
Indeed, the process of building it wouldn't impinge on it. That's
Correct.
usually the area of risk as opposed to the final.
That's right.
Yep.
So just in Drew's report and in our, it's 109, and it's exactly the same conversation around the earth embankment, and it talks about Reservoir 1, and then it also, the third paragraph down talks about the geotechnical investigation for Reservoir 2. What is Plan C? Like, if these reports come back that it is, it would unstable the embankment and all of that kind of stuff, what's our game plan here? Because to me, this project was, a business case has been put up, we have a good scope of works, we know what needs to be done, and it feels like we're back at the start of understanding the reservoir makeup, sorry. So, like, what's going to happen if these reports don't support the current direction?
Well, firstly, as I said, the report that we've got for Reservoir 1 is very positive, and so there are, in effect, engineering solutions. Currently, we don't need that for Reservoir 1. We can set that at a height that will work. Reservoir 2 is on the land to be purchased. The geotechnical, so again, it is, the risk is relatively low in terms of we're not expecting there to be geotechnical issues with that site, but obviously we need to confirm that. If that is a problem, then we will need to look at another site for the other reservoir. There are options where that could be within the reticulation itself. We would need to look for other alternatives in terms of siting the second reservoir.
Can I add to that? Sorry, everyone?
Yes, true.
Coming from online. So, Reservoir 2 location, the geotech that we are doing is more to inform what potential ground improvements, if any, are required at that location versus what is needed for Reservoir 1, which is it impinging on the embankment or not? Because we are looking to build Reservoir 2 on that private property, we will be far enough away from that embankment as to not impinge on it. So the geotechnical testing that we do for Reservoir 2 is just inputs into the design of how thick the ground improvement is required for that reservoir. The risk of it having to be relocated is, I would say, minimal, if any.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you for that, Drew. Okay, excellent. Is there any, oh yes, Mr. Trainer.
Drew, it's Nigel Trainer here, I'm the CE here. Do we have a project plan with particular milestones and critical dates that we're going to meet? Because when I look at the critical risks, we talk about design clarification and scope interfaces, consent and designation, program integration, and it reads to me there's a lot of risk around the fact that we've probably got 2 or 3 projects all coming together. And has that been well and truly documented, and does that need to come through as part of this, as part of the report that we get to these committees, so as we can see that whether there is something lurking out there that's going to create a risk for us in terms of going forward, because I'm not sure when we're going to have this thing finished and where we're not. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely on the same page with that one. So we're going to develop an integrated program which will be masons, which will be the early works, which will be the pipeline and the reservoirs, the consenting requirements for those, the design input, as well as the procurement, and combine all that information. That's probably, I think it was the second on our priority of having an integrated program for this project, which I'll put my hand up, we haven't quite got there yet. When we put that together, from that we'll be able to build out those milestones that you're looking for, and we'll report on those.
Excellent,
I
thank
could
you,
add,
Drew.
item 5 in the discussion is that the integrated program is being developed.
Well, what I'm hearing is that the next meeting we'll start to see that, or is it a bit longer for development? Drew, do you have a sort of a time frame for that?
We'll have an integrated program for the next meeting. We'll probably roll that up into milestone levels to report on. If anyone wants it, we can dive deeper into it, but we'll just report on those milestones for this.
That sounds good. We'll take a look at it and then we can make a decision from there. Councillor Burt?
Sorry.
I was going to say, from a lay person's point of view, when they read these things, it's always good to have that risk matrix, so that when you read that, most people don't understand the implications and your mitigations, and then obviously the likelihood of risk, and it's a really easy one glance. I can see that's a risk. What is the risk in terms of its proportionality, and what with the mitigations, what's the final? Sometimes a really easy snapshot. If you could think about including that, it'd be great. Thank you.
Noted.
And just to remind me again, I should be asking this without being in a meeting like this, the covers for the reservoirs are not included in this project, which they will have to be done at some point after the event, won't they?
Yes, after.
And how far after?
Well, they will, well, I don't know. Because they'll be raw water reservoirs, they're not as critical as if it was treated water reservoirs. So in the next 5 to 10 years after.
That was the whole point of this project.
Not quite the whole point, but certainly a big bit of it.
And as in, raw water versus whatever. Okay, wonderful, thank you. And it's exciting to see the first report. I was excited. Was everyone else excited? Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Grant. Thank you. See, it's so exciting being on this committee. Thank you very much. Receive and note the Claremont Water Treatment Plant Upgrade Monthly Report, and thank you, Drew, for attending our meeting today. I'm happy to move that from the Chair, seconded by Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, and that concludes our public part of our meeting, and I'll now move us into publicly excluded.